Have you ever wondered who among the 7 BTS members gets in their feelings the most, or successfully makes the fans feel their emotions too? Each member has a unique way of expressing themselves. Some show it through open tears on stage, write it down through lyrics, and some bottle it up and show it through small actions. This ranking is compiled based on the emotional moments caught on camera over the years. Let's discuss the ranking of BTS members based on their emotional.
Number 7. Suga. Suga takes the 7th position because he is the member who most rarely shows emotional reactions directly in public. He has a reputation for being a very rational, calm person who always gets straight to the point without much small talk. When other members cry or laugh out loud, Suga often just smiles slightly or quietly observes the situation around him. This characteristic makes him look very tough. However, precisely because he rarely shows his emotions openly, when he actually shows his soft side, the moment becomes very memorable. You might remember when he cried uncontrollably when BTS won the Artist of the Year award at the Mnet Asian Music Awards in 2016. That incident proved that behind his calm demeanor, he cares very deeply about his group's achievements. A fun fact we can learn from Suga is how he channels his emotions not through direct facial expressions, but through music production and the rap lyrics he writes. His self-composed lyrics often honestly discuss topics of life's struggles, youth, and anxieties. As a real-life, everyday example, people with personalities like Suga might look indifferent when you are sad, but they are the first ones who will buy you food or help you solve the problem practically. He might not physically hug you, but he makes sure you are okay. The contrast between a calm exterior and incredibly deep thoughts is what gives Suga his own way of processing feelings. His attention to the other members is often seen in small behind-the-scenes actions accidentally caught on camera, making him a protective figure for the group, despite being at the bottom of the emotional level ranking.
Number 6. Jin. The 6th position is filled by the oldest member, Jin, who has a very unique way of managing emotions within the group. Jin is widely known for his humorous image and loves throwing dad jokes in various interviews and variety shows. Many people initially consider Jin as someone who is always cheerful and never takes small things to heart. However, behind his laughter, Jin is an older brother figure who deeply cares about the mental well-being of his younger brothers. He uses humor as a mechanism to break the ice and make other members feel comfortable when they are under the pressure of a very tight schedule. His attention to the other members is often seen in acts of service, such as cooking meals for them since their pre-debut days, or making sure every member gets enough food at various events. Jin's way of calming others successfully makes fans catch feelings secretly. Additional information we can look at is that Jin consciously chooses to appear cheerful so the younger members can lean on him when they're tired. He once stated in a documentary interview that he tries to hide his own sadness so the group maintains positive energy they can use. As an everyday example, we often find a friend who is always joking around in a gathering, but when a friend faces a disaster, they are the very first person to come and offer help without asking for anything in return. Jin proves that emotional maturity does not always have to be shown through heavy conversations or long cries, but can be through consistency in keeping the spirits up of those around him. His dedication to being a pillar for BTS makes the moments when he finally cries at concerts have a very strong impact on the fans watching him directly or through the screen. Number 5. J-Hope. J-Hope occupies the 5th position thanks to his role as the main source of positive energy who consistently brings cheerfulness into the group's dynamics. Fans are very familiar with his signature greeting and loud laugh that can easily boost the spirit of anyone in the same room with him. J-Hope very rarely shows a bad mood in front of the camera because he feels a responsibility to be a source of happiness, exactly matching the stage name he chose since the beginning of his career. Even so, when J-Hope starts showing his serious side, it gives a massive emotional effect to the other members and also the fans. He has very high standards of professionalism during dance practices, and his strictness while leading the practice shows how much he cares about the quality of the group's overall performance. Moments when he sincerely talks about his worries, fears, or affection for his family and other BTS members never fail to make fans feel it too. An interesting comparison point of J-Hope's character is the contrast between his cheerful charm and emotional depth when he is in work mode. We can view this similarly to someone who is always tasked with being the busiest and cheerful event organizer to ensure all guests enjoy the party. But once everyone has gone home, he absorbs all the exhaustion and achievements alone very seriously. J-Hope never holds back from crying when reading letters from his parents or when watching surprise videos from the staff and other members on stage. The transition from someone who always laughs widely to a mature man who is very honest with his vulnerable side is what makes J-Hope highly human in the eyes of the audience. The balance between overflowing energy and suppressed emotional sensitivity puts him exactly in the 5th position on our list today without debate.
Number 4. RM. The 4th position is occupied by the group leader, RM, who has a very different and profound approach when it comes to processing and expressing his feelings. RM is widely known by fans as a figure who has highly analytical, rational, and reflective thoughts regarding various aspects of everyday life. As the leader of BTS since the early days the group was formed, RM had to carry the heavy responsibility of bridging communication between the group members and management, while also acting as the main spokesperson when they attended various official events, both domestically and abroad. This burden of responsibility indirectly shaped RM's way of managing his emotions, where he often chooses to process his feelings through hours of observation before finally expressing them in the form of very neatly structured and logical words. RM's main advantage in triggering emotional responses from his fans lies in his ability to string sentences together literally. RM has a vast vocabulary that he directly uses to explain complicated human emotional conditions without having to exaggerate them. Fans very often highlight the photo captions or texts he uploads on his personal social media accounts. RM often shares photos of his visits to various art museums, portraits of natural landscapes, or simple objects around him, then accompanies them with thoughts about self-existence, the search for identity, and the human growth process. His ability to talk about emotions, life, and art appreciation simultaneously makes his words often considered deeply touching and meaningful for those who listen or read them. RM openly discusses his phases of confusion, feelings of insecurity that sometimes appear, and how he slowly learns to accept his own weaknesses. This is clearly recorded in his solo works, where he literally documents various changes in his mindset from year to year. As a main lyricist for many of his group's songs, RM incorporates these emotional observations into his workflow. He does not only write about happiness or sadness in general, but he details very specific situations, like the feeling of being left behind when seeing others around him achieve success faster, or the confusion when facing continuous social demands. A fun fact we can use as additional information here is a simple comparison regarding how RM handles psychological issues in his group. If we imagine a college friendship environment, RM is the type of colleague who will not only ask how you're doing when you look stressed, but he will also recommend a book to read, share a quote from a past historical figure, or invite you for a walk along an outdoor park to help you find a new perspective on your problem. This intellectual approach to handling emotions is highly specific and becomes his trademark. Of course, details about the book references or artists he likes can vary over time and as he ages, but the essence of his logical approach is consistently maintained. RM is also very often seen crying when giving closing speeches on the final day of a stadium-scale concert tour. His crying is usually not an explosive, hysterical cry, but tears flowing silently as he speaks and summarizes the long journey they have been through together with their loyal fans.
He will explain in detail about the physical and mental obstacles they faced while preparing for the album or concert, making fans directly realize how heavy the pressure he and the other members felt behind the camera scenes. His public speeches in various international forums also show his emotional maturity, where he encourages the younger generation to bravely speak out about their own identities loudly. Although RM often looks very in control, it is precisely his honest confessions about his exhaustion that make many fans feel they have a strong emotional connection with him. He proves that being a smart person and relying on logic does not mean someone loses their emotional sensitivity. RM shows that we can think about our feelings logically while feeling them genuinely at the same time. He frequently talks about his routine of spending his free time just riding his bicycle along the river while looking for solutions to the operational problems the group is currently facing. His interactions with the younger members are also very consistent to observe. When other members feel they have hit a dead end, RM often invites them to sit face-to-face and talk directly, using calm argumentation to help them see the problem from a more realistic viewpoint and prevent them from blaming themselves excessively. The fact that he can maintain the balance between professionally taking care of 6 other members in the global music industry and still looking after his own mental health through the appreciation of art objects and printed literature is something worth noting. His openness regarding the process of biological and mental maturation, as well as his efforts to accept all human flaws in general, is the deciding factor why he occupies this 4th position. Fans do not just feel like they are listening to music when enjoying his work, but they are also invited to evaluate their own feelings in more detail. By sharing his personal thoughts very honestly without censorship, RM consistently succeeds in creating a safe online discussion space for his fans to also talk about their respective emotional conditions without feeling judged by others. His ability to translate complicated emotions into real sentences that are easy to understand and highly relatable to everyday human activities makes RM a fully respected leader figure. Furthermore, we can see tangible proof of RM's emotional depth through their vacation travel documentary programs. In those recorded shows, RM often separates himself from the noisy group activities just to read a book alone on the lodge terrace or observe the weather changes outdoors. These daily activities are always interspersed with long monologues about his desire to appreciate a slow-paced life as an antidote to the music industry's rhythm that moves very fast, non-stop. RM does not hesitate to state that massive international popularity often brings up personal confusion for him, where he frequently has to manage the boundaries between his life as an ordinary young man and his position as a world public figure. Literal statements like this that he regularly delivers give a strong influence to viewers who are also struggling through their own life transition periods. RM does not use his status to display a flawless life, but to show his continuous effort in studying himself. Besides that, the way RM interacts with art objects also confirms his level of sensitivity. He can stand for quite a long time looking at a statue or painting, then write a long paragraph about the color composition and the historical message contained in it, and then publish it to the wider public. This is an open invitation for his fans to join in practicing their empathy and visual appreciation. His attention to the environmental details around him is truly well maintained, ranging from the sound of vehicles on the highway to the architecture of old buildings to brief interactions with the janitors he meets when visiting new places. He remembers and collects all these real experiences, which he will later turn into discussion material about human behavior in fan forums or his song lyrics. Therefore, the group leader title is not merely an administrative label on RM, but he practically guides the members and listeners in the process of recognizing and voicing their emotions reasonably, making every viewpoint he speaks hold massive emotional value and successfully touching the feelings of his listeners in various parts of the world consistently from year to year.
Number 3. Jungkook. The 3rd position is occupied by the youngest member of this group, Jungkook. The dynamics of Jungkook's behavior are very interesting to study because he joined the professional music industry at a very early age, precisely when he just entered his mid-teens.
Spending his growing period under the direct supervision and togetherness of 6 older members has shaped his emotional responses visibly. Jungkook has 2 complementing personality sides in the eyes of his fans. On one hand, he very often shows a spoiled attitude and relies on his needs on other members. But on the other, he also shows massive protectiveness towards those exact same people. A fun fact that can be a light discussion point here is the result of observing the behavioral patterns of the youngest member in a family with many members. Just like a youngest child in general conditions, Jungkook often tries hard to hide his own fatigue by continuously training physically and mastering many new skills so he does not become a burden to the older members. But his emotional defense will instantly shatter and he will cry loudly when he sees other members experiencing physical difficulties or physical injuries. He openly stated this specific condition himself through his solo song early in their career, where the song's lyrics literally state that the only event that makes him the saddest is when he has to see his group members sad, and he feels he has no capacity whatsoever to stop that sadness. This honest confession always successfully sparks huge emotional reactions from the fans because it shows a very high level of empathy from someone who is usually heavily relied upon for physical strength on stage. Outside his official stage performance schedule, Jungkook is also highly recognized through his live broadcasting routines on online applications, which often run very long, taking hours late at night. In these private broadcast sessions, Jungkook usually just sits in his chair, turns on the music player, sings directly into the microphone, and responds to text comments written by his viewers. These casual online meetings very often turn into emotional situations without being planned. There is plenty of video documentation where Jungkook is seen shedding tears in front of his screen simply because he reads one sentence of support from a fan or because he feels overwhelmed by the amount of thank you messages he receives simultaneously from various countries. He absolutely makes no effort to hide the fact that he deeply needs two-way communication with his fans, and his room's live broadcast becomes his main facility to overcome his longing when he is not on a concert tour. His physical interactions with other members also highly show how quickly Jungkook's feelings can be touched by small things. He often physically embraces other members when he feels awkward facing reporters, or gives looks full of respect when other members are answering foreign language interview questions. His loyalty to this group is vocalized regularly. He often says in long interview sessions that the BTS members are individuals who have literally helped him grow and learn how to socialize in life until he became the adult man he is today. His continuous expressions of gratitude do not sound like mechanically memorized sentences, but pure feelings he continuously carries in his everyday life. We must also highlight how Jungkook reacts to closing moments of large-scale events. Compared to other members who might try hard to hold back their tears to maintain their professional appearance until the cameras turn off, Jungkook is often the very first member to cry uncontrollably. His face will turn red, and he will have a hard time catching his breath to finish his farewell sentence because he is actually sobbing. His bravery in showing his fragile emotional condition makes many viewers feel they have a protective responsibility towards him. They no longer see Jungkook solely as a stage performer immune to pain, but as a real human figure who can feel scared, sad, and physically moved. Even though his posture often makes him rated as the strongest physical endurance due to his very intense workout routine, regarding emotional conditions, he is one of the most open in conveying his feelings to the public audience. Of course, the way Jungkook reacts to these situations has also gone through changes as his age and experience increase. Details about his crying habits might slightly decrease in intensity between the early debut era and his current condition, but the foundation of his heart's sensitivity has not changed at all. He remains the same individual who will swiftly help field staff tidy up stage cables, bow completely to thank the security guards, and look at the fans in the very front barricade area with teary eyes holding back emotions. The opposing combination of physical strength that heavily dominates his performance, singing voice filled with honesty, and very sincere devotion to his 6 co-workers makes Jungkook fulfill all criteria to be in this third position.
He continuously proves through his actions that crying and showing honest emotions is not a mistake, but the result of a very deep care for the safety and happiness of the people in his work environment. This honesty constantly manages to bridge the differences in region and language, making millions of people all over the country simultaneously feel his joy and sadness, making every video record of his not just an electronic entertainment product, but proof of real, direct emotional interaction that provides long-term memories for anyone watching it live at the stadium or through their mobile devices. Furthermore, Jungkook also has a habit of collecting his group's visual memories through short videos he records and edits himself using his software. This series of videos shows the audience the world exactly how Jungkook sees it every day, which is full of focus on the detailed reactions of his colleagues. The selection of background music tempo he uses, the way he positions the camera when other members are laughing freely while eating together, and his main focus on the happy expressions on their faces very clearly confirms how he puts a high emotional value on these routine activities. He positions himself behind the scenes as an observer, gathering evidence of his friend's happiness, and the video editing duration that surely takes a long time is a real form of highly personal emotional dedication. When a group member is willing to cut his very limited resting sleep time in the middle of a foreign tour schedule just to finish the vacation documentary video of the 5 or 7 of them, it highly shows a level of emotional attachment that goes way beyond his official job description. Jungkook's protective attitude is also clearly seen when their group faces strict scrutiny from the public or receives external pressure from foreign media. Although he very rarely answers media questions with an angry tone, he often leaves written messages on the fan community to calm his readers and assure them that their group is in a healthy condition and they physically take care of each other. This series of behaviors clearly shows the expansion of his role from just the youngest protected member into a mental support provider figure for their global follower community. In the end, Jungkook's ability to consistently maintain his emotional connection with millions of people without using a script or special direction, armed only with honesty and interacting, crying when he feels moved, and laughing vocally without caring about formal camera etiquette boundaries, puts him very solidly in a highly essential position in maintaining the group's dynamic of emotional openness sustainably.
Number 2. Jimin. The second position is directly secured by Jimin, the member who is consistently recognized as having the highest level of emotional sensitivity and empathy capacity in this group's dynamic. Since their early period of appearing in public, Jimin has been very identical to a character who physically shows affection, often displaying adorable or naturally spoiled behavior without needing a director's instruction. He is the type of individual who instinctually uses physical contact to seek comfort, often caught on camera hugging another member's back from behind, resting his head on their shoulder when sitting next to each other, or holding their hands tightly when they are waiting for their turn to speak in a live television broadcast program. This spoiled side he always displays is absolutely not a marketing tactic created by the agency, but rather a literal reflection of his true personality that heavily relies on physical touch as the main way to communicate his sense of security with the people close to him. However, the main factor that entitles Jimin to occupy such a high position is not his spoiled side, but his highly accurate observation speed regarding the emotional condition changes of the individuals around him. Jimin is the first figure who will automatically take a step forward when another member starts shedding tears on the concert stage. A compilation of recordings from dozens of shows in various countries consistently records identical behavioral patterns. Namely, when one member starts bowing their head because of crying, Jimin will instantly run fast across the stage area, fully wrap one of his arms around that member, and rub their back repeatedly without saying a single word until their breathing gets back to normal. This very specific physical attention is very often directed at younger members like Jungkook and V, where he practically often acts as a mediator who calms them down when they feel pressured by the schedule or feel frustrated with their own performances. An interesting fact that is highly relevant about the personality Jimin has can be juxtaposed with the role of an emotion observer in our everyday friendship circle. If you are part of a school project group, Jimin is the representation of the type of friend who quickly realizes you are having a bad day just by listening to your slower speaking tone or seeing your unenthusiastic walk entering the classroom, even though you have not told your problem to anyone at all. He will not force you to give an explanation right then and there, but he will quietly take the initiative to bring your favorite bottled drink and sit quietly accompanying you on the next chair until you decide to start speaking yourself. This level of emotional sensitivity capacity is a very high and pure social intelligence that not everyone naturally has. Besides being very sensitive to other people's emotions, Jimin is also very transparent and open about his own emotional pressure. He is highly recognized by the staff and members to have a very extreme perfection-seeking tendency regarding his stage choreography. When his voice misses slightly on one specific note, or when his body spin is out of sync with other members by a fraction of a second, Jimin has a habit of continuously blaming himself for a few days after the incident. Their tour travel documentary films often contain scenes where Jimin cries alone sitting in the backstage dressing room just because he feels his performance that night hasn't reached the standard worthy to be presented to fans who have traveled a long way. This highly serious emotional reaction to technically minor mistakes literally shows how huge the burden of job responsibility he feels personally. When he cries because he feels angry at his own physical abilities, it instantly always successfully triggers a massive response of sympathy and support from fans across various communication channels who uniformly keep trying to convince Jimin through writing that he has done his performance job very optimally. Jimin's ability to transition extremely from someone who loves joking and is spoiled to a highly stiff professional individual who thinks about every detail of his performance deeply is what makes his feeling dynamics very complex to untangle. Outside of concert preparation matters, Jimin also very often shows his level of care through materials and time, such as taking the time to buy and wrap very specific birthday gifts according to each member's tastes, or easily remembering small details from casual conversations that happened years prior. He doesn't only give his attention to his core group members, but he also applies it to freelancers and daily staff working with them at the shooting location, where he is often seen helping arrange folding chairs, helping carry heavy prop equipment, or bowing his body multiple times to verbally thank every lighting crew technician after a tiring recording process is declared finished in the morning. These consistent physical actions reflect the character of someone who views everyone equally and highly appreciates other people's labor contributions. We must realize that the detailed actions of how Jimin shows his forms of affection might differ in intensity depending on the time and place situations, but his fundamental habit to always put other people's emotional comfort first remains his main personality foundation. This sincere attitude continuously provides a reminder to his followers that true care doesn't always have to be declared through grand public announcements, but instead can be proven from how someone is constantly present, reaching out their hand in small moments not highlighted by the main spotlight.
Jimin practically succeeds in showing the wider public that an adult man in the competitive entertainment industry can still maintain a very sensitive side, care about the comfort of strangers, cry physically without hiding it, and at the same time still be respected for his firmness and extraordinary dedication when on the performance stage. The highly specific combination between his affectionate nature, his high need for positive emotional responses, his empathy level that often exceeds reasonable portions, as well as his perfection ambition that often uncovers his mentally vulnerable side, is the absolute undeniable
undisputed reason why Jimin rightfully belongs in the second position on our calculation list this time. He doesn't merely become the person who most often reacts emotionally to events around him, but his persistent direct physical actions always successfully make millions of pairs of eyes across various screens also feel the waves of sadness or warmth as strongly as he experiences, providing strong evidence that sincere acts of affection never need an oral translation device to be fully understood by people from various regional layers and time differences across the earth. Furthermore, regarding Jimin's empathy capacity, we can trace how he designs his interactions with fans through his mobile online broadcasting device. In most of his late-night live broadcast schedules, Jimin often chooses to turn off most of the lights in his room, turns on instrumental music at a very low volume, and starts talking towards the screen with a very steady and unhurried voice tone, creating a calm atmosphere that visually resembles a private consultation session setting. During the broadcast duration, he often focuses his gaze to read comments from fans who are briefly sharing about their daily struggles, such as piles of high school assignments, physical exhaustion from fieldwork, or minor disputes with their family at home. Instead of giving lengthy advice that sounds like telling them to do something, Jimin generally will respond by taking a deep breath, looking at the camera lens with a serious stare, and literally saying that he can imagine how heavy and tiring that situation is. He consistently validates the existence of his viewers' negative feelings by clearly stating that it is human to feel tired, feel sad, or feel like taking a full break on certain days. Choosing this highly soothing, one-way communication style certainly demands a large capacity level of sensitivity and emotional maturity, especially considering he stands in a position as a popular figure who is demanded by his industry environment to always show off a happy and perfect life all the time in public. Jimin intentionally chooses a more challenging communication path by letting his personal space be exposed to the emotional negative narratives of strangers for the sake of providing a mental comfort facility for those who write them. There are also several written track records where Jimin publishes long paragraphs on the fan community message board explaining very sequentially about his late-night thought struggle process in his effort to formulate his life's source of happiness amidst his busy work schedule. All these writings are compiled using very straightforward and everyday diction, without inserting artificial dramatization elements, which automatically makes everyone who reads them instantly catch the essence of his sincerity without needing to think twice. Moreover, his routine in ensuring his group members' physical well-being, such as acting to distribute utensils or making sure every chair the other members are going to sit on is safe before they sit, shows that his sensitivity sensors towards small things around him operate fully non-stop every single day. All the accumulations of his sacrificed resting hours, his tears falling due to personal performance target pressure, as well as his availability to continuously channel unconditional full attention to his co-workers and his viewers, become permanent proof cementing his status as the most vital emotional system pillar that actively guarantees the stability of their friendship relation keeps functioning very well for more than 10 calendar years of their career period in this commercial music industry.
Number 1. V. The top position and absolute first place in the list of members who are most dominant in triggering emotional feelings instinctually is occupied by V. If we observe other members who mostly rely on delivering long oral speeches or a series of physical service actions to show their feelings, V holds a highly unique innate ability to build an emotional bond only by utilizing his physical existence in a place. He is very often visually described by music enjoyers and media critics as an individual who has the physical appearance, structure, clothing, and demeanor that resembles a Prince character from classic printed storybooks.
A highly notable point from this reality is all forms of sweet attitude and friendliness attached to the Prince label are not forcedly performed by him or arranged by the agency to trick the camera lens at all, but truly flow naturally and spontaneously from within his original habit patterns. One of the strongest main visual elements placing him in this #1 position is his way of operating eye contact. Hundreds of video clip analyses from various concerts clearly show how V has a habit of directing and locking his eyesight right to the center of the main camera lens, or focusing his stare straight toward the human audience crowd in front of the stage, using a very calm facial expression and for a very long duration of seconds, a physical habit that automatically triggers a psychological reaction of closeness for the viewer across the screen, producing a condition where it is as if V is doing a personal face-to-face interaction with every viewer sitting in different rooms. Beyond his visual staring ability, V's most real power in influencing his fans' emotional stability is the sentences he speaks suddenly without using any written script guide at all. The biggest historical proof of this capacity is the event where he spontaneously composed the English phrase, "I purple you," in between concerts, where at that time he literally gave a new definition to the purple color spectrum, making it an official symbol to represent mutual trust and a form of unbroken support over a very long period of time between the group and the fans. The sentence he made suddenly, without preparation, has currently expanded into a universal identity emblem for all the music group's operational activities across continents, and is even officially used by various global-scale social institutions, providing real proof regarding how massive the influence scale of his pure emotional thought. Additional information we can apply in observing V's basic character is the observation phenomenon about natural charm in a social interaction. In daily routine activities, we certainly have met one specific individual at a dining table gathering who does not take the role of talking much, does not try hard to be funny, or does not seek the focus of conversation, but when it is his turn to listen to other people's talks, he will lean his body in and give 100% full listening focus to his interlocutor, which ultimately makes anyone speaking to him feel highly appreciated and their existence absolutely validated. V is a real projection form of that type of passive yet highly impactful character, and he applies it on a massive mass interaction scale. He is recorded very often caught on camera channeling small forms of attention to his 6 other members, which generally would not be noticed by viewers at first glance, but becomes very clear when the video is played back slowly. As a physical event example, he is often caught on camera sliding the position of a bottled water on the stage floor with his foot so it doesn't hit another member moving backwards towards the bottle, fixing the microphone position or clothing collar of a member standing right beside him, or calmly reaching for and holding the hand of another member who looks like they are starting to breathe fast because of feeling nervous when having to step up to the front microphone to deliver a trophy acceptance speech at an overseas live broadcast event. The key factor making this series of actions far more touching to the viewer's feelings is the fact that V very often does these preventative actions with a truly flat facial expression, as if he is doing a very trivial thing, without realizing or caring about the excessive reaction effect that will happen to thousands of people paying attention to his gestures. He moves his body purely based on basic human maintenance instincts. Besides his physical behavior, V's emotional sensitivity level is also clearly recorded from the audio preferences he consumes every day, where he shows a very strong and specific interest in music genres with very slow tempo beats, such as old jazz music, blues songs, and classical instrument compositions, which are music categories that strictly require the listener to have strong sensory sensitivity to be able to enjoy the tone transitions. He is highly accustomed to using his online platform to recommend old release song titles that his followers might never have heard before, yet always have melody instrument compositions that feel very sad and lonely. V is also proven to never hold himself back from admitting his emotional shattered condition openly without the use of any filters at all. The biggest historical proof of this capacity is the event where he had to face the death of a family member who took great care of him, namely his grandmother from the family side. He forced
forced himself to hold the microphone and tell the grieving news directly using his own voice in front of tens of thousands of pairs of human eyes in the stadium area, with tears constantly flowing, wetting his face non-stop, letting his public image defense crumble and displaying himself who was at the lowest point of a human's weakness. The highly risky decision to unpack his personal grief wounds in a public space filled with many strangers actually absolutely strengthened his position in fans' eyes as an adult man who prioritizes emotional honesty above the perfection demands of his celebrity profession. V's point of view in observing the world's movement around him also often feels very pure, where he, through his photography results, often chooses to take pictures of quiet street intersection corners without human activity, portraits of empty building facades, or closely photograph the tired expressions on the faces of ordinary people on the streets, which becomes real proof that his eyes are always actively looking for the humanity components of inanimate objects or unfamiliar locations he visits in between his packed world tour schedules. These collections of natural habits are what together crystallize and make him an individual figure who holds the most dominant control in drawing crying or smiling from his followers.
Physically, not a single one of his series of gestures is indicated to be directed by agency staff. He holds the ability to transition extremely from the form of a professional stage performer mastering sharp choreography into an ordinary young man sitting staring at the floor with total confusion when the rules of a light game on a variety television show fail to be processed by his logic. This filter-free authenticity condition in displaying himself to the public is what continuously and successfully makes tens of millions of his supporters feel they get an unwritten duty to always provide digital protection to him while feeling constantly reminded of their emotional side by every accidental action he makes. Of course, we can assume that the way the public catches the level of friendliness and innocence of V's character could be influenced by various fans' subjective points of view in different eras of his career. But V's steadfastness in maintaining his communication method through straight eye contact, giving physical help without sound, and using daily sentences that often sound profound by accident seals his position as the absolute controller at the top order of our calculation today. V's full physical existence form has demonstrated all the emotional prerequisites that a figure must possess to be able to build a truly solid two-way communication system with millions of different human heads. He proves that he never obligates the agency to create dramatic action scripts to grab the audience's attention. He only purely focuses on going through his day as himself, using his instinct to protect his colleagues, observing the changes in his surrounding environment, and reacting to various world events relying on his very wide scale of feeling sensitivity, providing literal proof to the media industry that the level of human action honesty is the most unbeatable message deliverer component and will never be able to be replicated or copied by any communication education curriculum existing in the modern talent scout industry today. The series of emotional impacts V creates even exceeds the boundaries of external interaction with his fan base, but highly crucially functions to secure the internal communication pattern balance among the 7 men incorporated in this music group. V is proven on various occasions to take crucial responsibility as the gathering point to diffuse tension when there are technical argument differences in their dance practice room area. The problem-solving way he uses highly focuses on slowing down the tempo, which is significantly different from the fast and rational logic-solving methods often applied by other members. He consistently chooses the method to invite the disputing members and listen to their respective versions of the sequence of events until totally finished without cutting their conversation with denials or any comparative arguments at the beginning. His capacity to open up his chest and accommodate the stream of annoyance from other people without getting angry himself very realistically shows just how big and wide the size of his feeling space is. Another specific thing that is highly worth noting is the reality that V proactively does not hide the information that his mental resilience structure highly needs the supply of positive sentence support and the certainty of affection voiced verbally from the people in his defense circle, where the camera often records moments when he frankly asks other members to say words of support or state that they love him orally when his confidence frequency is experiencing a decline backstage. The literal bravery to ask for the certainty of affection orally from his male friends is the most transparent level of emotional honesty form that statistically is very rarely dared to be done by the majority of humans within the modern cultural system, where the system generally dictates adult individuals to always stand alone without relying on other people blatantly. Through this behavioral pattern, V practically gives a direct lesson to his entire audience reach that having the need to be accompanied by other humans and voicing the desire to be loved literally is a basic human biological need that does not need to be covered up or considered shameful at all. In the historical records of executing his online communication broadcasts, V is recorded to be able to spend his broadcast quota, which takes hours of duration, merely by sitting on his room's sofa surface, wrapping both his arms to hug his personal pet dog's body, and only focusing his eyes towards his mobile device screen display to read thousands of text comments that keep changing every second, accompanied by music strains from his vinyl record player machine, without letting out a single letter from his mouth for a very long period of time, letting silence take over the broadcast duration. Although absolutely no human voice exchange happens in that online session, the atmosphere of calmness and warmth that automatically radiates out from that room successfully holds hundreds of thousands of viewers scattered across various continents to keep their screens on and not move away from that viewing channel. The voice silence duration he shows off is absolutely not a void of interaction, but he intentionally functions it as a soundless shelter area he projects through the internet network, so other humans in other parts of the earth have a stopover place to rest psychologically from the various noisy demands of their physical everyday environment. His sharp sensitivity in detecting and accommodating universal-scale basic human needs, like an escape from loneliness and the need for the touch of safety, without having to force dizzying rational theory explanations, becomes the absolute irrefutable foundation regarding why all his action decisions are always bestowed with an emotional cruising range that surpasses physical country borders. All the accumulations of this natural component and highly honest daily behaviors ultimately unite into one highly solid unity of charm, which finally cements V's position at the peak of the absolute ranking list as the group member who is most capable of paralyzing the critical thought defense walls of millions of people and piercing his influence directly, literally, into the deepest feeling control center of his followers, consistently without stopping, starting from the first day his face was displayed in the music industry until piercing the highest success line he could achieve at the exact second of today's calculation.